We all will be fine. Yes, there we go.
Ah, there we are. There we go. All right, letting some people in.
Welcome, everybody. We are live.
And we're live.
Yay! Okay.
Your show.
So, shall we start? Yes, I will start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Before we do that, let me share my screen. Okay. Oh no, you see my whole screen.
Don't share too much.
I'm sharing too much. Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's a wrong screen. So
failing forward. I'll just speak without the screen. I'll do that. Yes. Okay, welcome everybody to Wednesday Web Jam. This is Wednesday Web Jam, where we experiment, stage fright. This is where we experiment, prototype, learn, and fail forward together as a community. And that's right, failing forward, that is our motto. So just a quick one, we're currently recording live on YouTube, just for GDPR purposes. If you don't want your faces on YouTube, please turn your camera off, turn your mic off, otherwise, but if you're okay with your faces being seen on YouTube, we'd love that. We'd love to see your faces. We're also going to be reposting on our social medias like Instagram, as well as on our website and our mailing list. So please just, be with us. Okay, so what will we be doing today, Arne?
Good question. I don't know. Do you know? I think it has something to do with scaling and design thinking, and we're going to explore. So I'll stop teasing you now. So because of your stage fright, you don't have to be, how long have you been doing this, Mimp? You don't have to be afraid anymore. But anyway, or do. Today we're going to talk about scaling design thinking and what it actually means. Is it actually possible? Do we actually want it? And what exactly are we talking about when we talk about scaling? What exactly is scaling? I have a lot of questions. I hope we're going to generate some insights together. That's the aim of today, because this is the Wednesday Web Jam. It is a community effort. It's not just me going to talk about my opinion about scaling. I'll give you my opinion for sure, because I can't shut up anyway. But I want to hear from you first. And so we're going to use, and again, because there's a couple of new people coming in, I will share again the Miro board. And so we're going to use Miro. That's the one you see behind me. The first thing, basically go to the Miro board and check it out. We'll go through a few steps. We'll do one breakout where we have you share something with a peer, one of the people from the community. But mainly, we're going to first ask you to come up with ideas and about what you feel is important when we talk about scaling. And we're going to share some of these insights. That's going to be, just go with the flow. Let it all happen. What are we going to ask them to do first, Mimp?
We will be asking them to do a question storm. So in the Miro board, as you can see on Arne's screen, yes, Arne, zoom in, thank you. Yes, so we'd like you to, for about 5 minutes, ask questions and, for example, questions like, what is scaling? Why are we scaling? What are we scaling? Or even questions like, what is design thinking, if you don't know what design thinking is? So 5 minutes on the clock. Arne, could you put the timer? And before we start the timer, any questions?
Oh, I stopped the timer again. Come on.
Any questions? Are the
colors important?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
What? Don't think too much. whatever is, we must have many questions. So don't think too much. Any questions is a good question. Not the only design thinking, but the whole Wednesday Web Jam kind of concept is about asking ourselves, how does it work? Why? What do we do? How do we do it? Let's just try. Question Storm is about not thinking too much. Just come up with a whole bunch of questions. And if you feel that, and you don't have to cluster, but you can look around and see some questions that might inspire you. And we'll see in about, and I am going to start the clock now. So in about 5 minutes, we're going to stop you. And then we're going to go to the next step. And for those people who are new, the link, Union already shared the link again to the Miro board. In the Miro board, you see this. And by the way, if you haven't used Miro before, if this is new to you, it's a great opportunity to kind of try stuff out. There are Post-its. You can just go and grab one in the corners, but you can also just copy paste any of them. Just play around with it. If you haven't used it before, it's actually quite interesting. You can make them giant, like really big, like this one. How can we apply design thinking in microlearning? That is a good question. I don't know how do we do that. You can make them giant. You can also make them very tiny or keep them very tiny. Who scales? Good question, by the way. Why do we scale now? Very good question too.
Arne, I think we should leave them.
No, I don't want to. All right, okay. A little bit more than 3 minutes in silence.
And go.
I'll just hide the cursors so it doesn't confuse everyone. One minute left. And for those who are new in the group, there is a link to the Miro board in the chat. And we're doing a quick question storm. good question. Are we allowed to force people to use design thinking? Not sure. Thank you very much. So that's awesome, by the way. That's a lot of questions. Very, very good. We will be clustering that in due time. But for now, the next step, what we're going to ask you to do is, because I hope we kind of, had you think about some questions that you have. Take a look around. What are the sort of the questions that spark something with you? They're like, oh, this is a really interesting question to answer. So on the right side of the question storm area, you see a lot of these spaces. Basically, we're going to ask you to occupy one of those spaces, put your name there, just post. These are all, so most of these things are locked. So you might want to kind of, I see that we actually locked everything. So you might want to kind of throw some Post-its on. We struggled a little bit with Miro just before you all came to the show. So you're going to have to recreate the Post-its. Try to make them small enough so they fit, but occupy one of these boards. And the question we would like to ask you is, what was one of the main questions that you saw there? Like, okay, I'm going to tackle this one, try to unpack it a little bit by answering the following kind of questions, or finish these kind of sentences, or be inspired by what it says in the 2x2, which says, this should happen. If you think about scaling, this should happen. This, and down here you see, this should not happen. When you're scaling, this is something that I think should not happen. On the left side, you'll see stuff you don't really know, or you have questions about, you're not really sure about. And on the right, you can put the stuff that you say, okay, I actually do know this. This is what I really know. Okay, so below here, you get stuff that you know for sure, and it should not happen, or you think it might not happen, it shouldn't happen. And here, there on the top right, you have all the stuff that you know how to do it, and you're also sure that it should happen. So this is what I'm going to ask you to do. So it's a bit of a, I think it's a tough question, but we're kind of trying to squeeze some wisdom out of you. It's just a means to get you to think and to share some insights. If you feel that you have other information that doesn't fit in the 2x2, please just don't hesitate to kind of put it in there, right? Don't worry about that. It's just a way to kind of get as much knowledge out of you as possible. So please occupy one of these areas. There must be enough. Try to kind of fill it out. And we're going to give you, I'm going to look at my script, because we did time it exactly, although we totally over time, I think. We're going to do silent and solo for 10 minutes, which is a very long time for a Wednesday web jam to do something silent and solo. I'm going to clock you for 8 minutes, because I think it's just way too long. Sorry. I'm not going to give you 10 minutes. You have to do it in 8. I'm going to give you 8 minutes to fill it out as much as you can. And then we're going to ask you to share this with someone else. So please go ahead, 8 minutes. If you have any questions, either put it in the chat, or unmute yourself and just speak up. It's okay to speak. It's actually quite good. Otherwise, you're just going to hear my voice for a whole hour, which is, it's really not, you don't want that. All right, I'm going to start the clock. Mimp, anything I missed?
Yash asked if we take questions from anyone, not just ours, and yes.
Yeah, steal someone else's question.
But copy and paste, yes. Copy and paste.
Or whatever, of course. Yeah, this is co-creation, people. Yes.
Time to start now?
Timer starts now. You have 7 minutes and 30 seconds.
Ooh. Ben asked, could you do one as an example, please?
No. Like do the work? Are you crazy? No, of course not. No, we didn't prepare that. No. Yes. No, just try it. Just go. Don't think too much. If I I don't want you to copy what I would do. You have to. I want to know what's in your head. That's what I want to know. We'll talk about it later. No worries. There's no right or wrong. Just put whatever you think. And you can still borrow from the questions that you've seen or be inspired. So don't worry about it too much. And by the way, if someone next to you is actually filling it out, you can also just look at your neighbor's board, right? So don't worry about that either. So yeah, Jen, so in the matrix, yes, you are trying to answer the question you selected. So you're trying to kind of, this question should be sort of the spark for you to kind of think about, stuff that you kind of feel that should happen or shouldn't happen. And also the things you know or you don't know, things you have questions or you know how to do it. And just kind of try to kind of put in words sort of what your experience is or what you feel is important. And yes, this is the Wednesday Web Jam, and we have never done this before because we like experiments and failing forward. And this is a methodology We haven't done before. And this is my daughter calling me on the phone while I'm at the gym. I'm going to, and actually I'm going to answer her. I don't know. Yeah, hello. Oh, she hung up.
Arne, you're distracting the people.
Hi. Teenagers.
Would you like to share?
Hey, Dad, was I supposed to be home now? Yes. Oh, I'm not. No. Sorry, teenagers. 1 minute to go, people. 1 minute to go. Sorry for distracting you. Mimp, Maya board is doing funny things. Tell us. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, so of course she is. Sorry. Let's talk about my daughter. There'll be no, because it's on YouTube. I should not do this. She actually might watch this. This not later. Okay, 10 seconds to go. So I hope we're able to kind of squeeze some wisdom out of your brain, which it would be really good to hear and also good to read. Time is up. So what we'll be doing now, first of all, I'm just going to ask if whether some of you would like to share something that maybe you came up with an idea, or maybe you came up with a kind of thought or a struggle or anything, or something that you feel like really important about this topic. So I'm going to ask you a bit. After that, we're going to put you into groups of it's actually groups of two. Maybe three if we're uneven, but two. And we're going to ask you to share. We're going to give you 10 minutes, so 5 minutes each, to share sort of your thoughts and your experience and your opinion that you might have put into or covered into in the 2x2. And from that discussion, we would like you, and that's the green sticky on the bottom. We would like you to have some kind of insight from your conversation. What is the big takeaway that you got from your conversation or from the whole exercise? And that's the other thing we're going to share, and that's going to be used to spark a plenary conversation for the rest of probably 20 minutes or so, or 15 minutes. And we're going to share some wisdom and some experience. So remember your number of the board, because if you want to take someone with you to your space, you're going to say, I am number 40, or I am number 44, or right. So we don't get lost.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Is someone who's facilitating behind the scenes moving things? Because it looks like in the chat, a bunch of boards just got deleted, mine included. All the stickies on board 13 got deleted. And it looks like board 14 and someone else. So if everybody could undo a couple times to see if they come back, every single thing I typed is gone.
Which number were you?
13, and it looks like 14 is having the same problem, and 23. So if you guys could help recover it, and 36, holy crackers.
It might be a
Who is the
virus.
delete monster? Stop deleting.
I've got the same problem with board 12. Don't know what happened.
There's no.
Yeah, I think so. A lot of boxes are just deleted.
Man, there was some genius on that board too.
Oh no.
Oh, big.
Oh no. I wrote like honestly 20 stickies. I don't know if I can remember everything I wrote. That's nutty. You guys can't recover?
I know.
Well, I can. So I have an undo button, but I don't know what it does when I do that because I'll try. If I don't know what's going to happen if I do that. No, I think that's basically me.
I think it only undoes what you did.
Just does what I did.
Jen
Yeah.
said there's a board history, so if everybody can stop doing something, and we'll undo everything. Please.
Yeah, I'll look at the board history and see who is the evil.
Oh,
Scaling for the virus.
Yeah. Okay.
Show your face, virus.
What we will be doing now is I'm going to just add, so while I am actually trying to kind of find out who is the culprit here, please share something that you kind of, some of the really, obviously it got deleted, but it was brilliant. Can you share it anyway? Please? Peggy, I see your, yes. Okay, please share with us. You're muted. Yes, Peggy. Yes, yes.
What now? Right this minute? What?
Pointing at you. Can't you see?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was just saying, yeah, to the whole group. Like, come on, guys. We know what we wrote in our head, and yes, it's hard. So, I mean, it was like, like my biggest thing is kind of like scaling is like everywhere today. Everybody wants to scale. All the businesses are like, we got to scale, and it's like, there's a point where there's a line where you lose quality when you scale. And, I want to know, like, what are we going to do in a design thinking world to not lose quality? That was that's all I was thinking about.
So to not lose quality, why would it lose? So just a question. So why would it mean that you would lose quality?
Okay, so here's my assumption and my stance. It's mine, not for everybody, but mine.
No, we will leave it with you.
Okay, all right, leave it with me. But seriously, like for me, it's like any process in the world, like I don't care what it is, the moment that it scales bigger and bigger and bigger, there is a loss of, or there's a different momentum, there's a different thing that happens. And so perhaps you've lost the quality of what was here. If it's really, really big over here, then you're going to have a different kind of quality, but maybe that quality is not helpful for the business anyway. I just want to have a conversation about that. That's all.
That's great. Well, I like the fact that you are actually questioning the scaling itself, right? So because scaling means like you can scale fish as well. I learned, and mountains, but scaling in this context means bigger.
But listen. Here's the point, right? Mm-hmm. If I scale the fish too hard, I rip off some of the flesh. If I scale the mountain too fast, I run out of water, power, energy.
So scaling should mean because it's actually very interesting if you look at the sort of the history of the word. But the scale it should be in balance. I mean, it does kind of also, So scaling in our kind of in the way we talk about it, what we actually mean often is making it bigger. But to your point, nothing can grow forever. So there's a moment that it will lose quality. And when is it? And so if you want to scale design thinking, whatever that means, by the way, because I would question that whole sentence of what exactly are you scaling? Are you scaling behavior? Are you scaling skills, tools, method? What? My experience often, and that's why I'm kind of kind of was triggered by what you were saying, because I have that experience that if you scale something like design thinking, and to your point, anything really, it gets, what do you call that, watered down. So it's like, oh, you can't teach everyone a mindset in a year. And often we're in companies and cultures where we need to move fast, because that's the other thing we're saying. And so everybody needs to kind of learn about design thinking, but we're actually teaching them tools. Journey mapping, stakeholder mapping, personas, but we're not really. But is that scaling? That's the question. It's maybe scaling the use of a tool, but is that really scaling? The whole philosophy of design thinking. So that's sort of. So yeah. So
Arne.
Go.
Lina has a question, and then Federico.
Go.
I wanna actually talk on that about the scaling part. And I was actually writing about what are the rules of scaling, and sustainability as a panorama, like how to make things bigger is very important. But on the panorama of, for example, how to do production, I was doing a discourse on how to do design families for products. You have to have those minimum qualities that you have to have in your product. And it's not only the environment that you have to have there. Maybe it's a different solution, but it has the minimum qualities that you're going to deliver to your user. So that house of quality that is going to go down to production is the thing that you always have to respect. Even if it is in a different packaging, maybe it can be plastic, but it doesn't matter. It always gonna survive the qualities that you need to transfer to the user, even if you have a cheaper solution. So those things always have to be there, as a rule of thumb on how to translate that to teams, for example.
Exactly. So anyone else want to kind of follow? Yeah, Hugo. Yes.
Federico was first.
Oh, sorry, Federico.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, Hugo. No, Hugo. No. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm second. Yeah. Go.
Sorry, my bad. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm with Peggy, actually, because when things go trendy, it's like when they were saying everyone wanted big data and no one never know what big data was, and then empathy. So everyone's speaking about empathy and they have no idea about what it is. So that's with scalability. And this year particularly, I've been working with some entrepreneurs with startups, but they are restaurants and fashion, businesses. And sometimes maybe even the owner of that business don't want to be scaled because maybe he could be more profitable without being scalable, even if you look at with those financial eyes, and sometimes it happens. And if you are, for example, Enrique Olvera from Pujol, the Mexican chef, what do you want to scale a 3-star Michelin restaurant? What's going to happen with that? Or if you want to make a different kind of fashion, you're going to become Zara. There's many Zaras and many fast fashion companies, and that happens. And sometimes if we are human-centered, we have to ask to that human first, the one that owns the business, or whoever has to take that decision, if he feels good about scaling, if it's part of it, because that's a pain for someone, sometimes I want to scale because they told me and I have to be successful, but maybe you could be more profitable without being so successful sometimes. So I'm with Peggy, 100% Peggy.
I mean, you can be more profitable nowadays when in 10, 20 years ago, profitability, to be more profitable, you also had to hire more people. Basically, these companies grew large in the number of people they would employ. Nowadays, you can be a small company and still be extremely profitable because of scalability of technology. So it's also a question: what exactly are you scaling? What are you scaling? So we take things for granted quite quickly. So I think that'd be my point in saying, so we all say we have to scale because that's basically everything needs to grow, because we feel that you're only successful if things grow, which I think it's about balance. But anyway, Hugo, any thoughts?
Yeah, when I was creating the questions on the question storm, one of the questions was, okay, what does it mean scale, and what does it mean scale with design thinking, or the link with design thinking being the trampoline to selling something. And normally when we use the word scaling, it's about massive, it's about quantity. But one of the questions that triggered me here in my head was, can scale be just about implementation, sorry, going from one idea to the implementation of it, where you need to do several things? Can scale be about deployment? Okay, you have an idea that must be deployed and travel to all parts of the company and to all people in order to them to be aligned. So in terms of thinking of, regarding scale in terms of quantity, can be think in terms of implementation, of transforming an idea to something that actually works and is used by people, despite the quantity of people that used it, or how many profits you do it from it.
Anyone? I'm actually curious to hear whether someone has a completely different opinion about this. Who says no? It's actually so. One comment says. So Peggy, you're saying the scaling can also, if you can't scale, it can also mean that you're just basically are going bankrupt, or you're not going to be successful. So that's so. Who has a different opinion about scaling, as far as you heard people speak?
Yash, please go ahead, Yash.
Yeah, thanks. So the idea here, we're talking about the definition of scaling, is really a critical one. And that's a good starting point, though it might seem like we're stepping back a little bit. But having done a lot of transformations and having tried to implement several different levers of improvements from business process re-engineering to data science to AI, you see that you need a critical mass. There's optimal scaling is what I would strive for. And that's perhaps a concept worth discussing, because you need a minimum critical mass of people who you can talk the same language with. If it's just 7 of you in the innovation team or the experience team, it doesn't have enough of an impact. It's something that's going on with these elitist people. On the other hand, if you try and drive 18,000 people to get through the training, by the time you get to that with the budgets and all of that, you would have evolved, your lever of training would have evolved. So what is that number, that ideal number that we can hit a critical mass of people? Probably that's something maybe would love to hear about other people's experiences of how do you create this nucleus of design thinking evangelists that would be enough to scale the diffusion across the organization.
Good point. So when is it enough? How many? Again, it's a good question. That's actually quite a tough question, right? So you can't. Not everyone can be sort of a whatever we call a design thinker, or shouldn't be really, or because it's just not part of their function. Or why would they be? Because it doesn't help them do the things they need to do or want to do. Or there are also people who are more kind of talented in certain things than other things. So there's also, I think it's more about diversity, which is obviously the underlying quality of design thinking, diversity of thought, diversity of opinion, and kind of embracing that. But what exactly is that number? Do you do you want to? And what are you scaling? What exactly is it? So, design thinking can be such a vague concept in that sense, and it means so many different things to so many different people. So, before
just to follow on, if I may, Arne, on that, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
One of the things that we did was you said who does what and what is taught. Everybody doesn't need to learn everything. But let's say, for example, we can tier the learning, and we can say that, we have what if we, how might we, if that thinking can percolate across the 18,000 people on one level, and then at another level, you have a nucleus of, say, 300 people across the organization who can do deep workshops and facilitation for service design blueprints. With that two-tier structure, you can have adequate amount of conversations going on that could be counted as success, probably.
you. Thank you.
Michael.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, Union.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Michael. Go.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at this very directly for what the session. I'm thinking about how are you scaling design thinking to incorporate. I like the whole part about the diversity. You're trying to create more inclusion and diversity for thought. And I see all the points everyone's made that as things probably get larger, things get lost. To me, where scaling the difficulty becomes more of the mastery of the facilitation of doing design thinking in the first place. Can you masterfully design to facilitate, to incorporate larger scales of bodies of people and how you do it? And then, at certain points, there's a difference between doing 50 people to 100. And if this gets larger, I might have to break that down into cells, and then the cells feed into a larger body to facilitate carrying ideas and information more effectively. So to me, I'm seeing the crux with as you scale, how can you facilitate managing larger bodies and bringing in the best? There probably is a point where there's going to be too much.
Thanks. Yeah, totally. A very interesting point about the facilitation, by the way, which is basically a new way of leadership. It's about facilitative leadership, which I think is one of the possible kind of answers to the question of how to scale, because it needs a completely new, not only culture, but way of collaboration and a leadership, because it needs a diversity of voices, et cetera, et cetera. We have to move on to the next little thing, because otherwise we're going to run out of time, and we really want you to share your thoughts. And I already am very inspired, but share some of your thoughts with a peer. So we're going to put you into small groups. Mimp, are you ready to do so, or shall I?
I'm ready to press the button.
Okay, so
how many minutes are we going to do?
Yeah, we're going to do that for another, we'll say 7 minutes.
Yes.
So which is, so you have to fight for who gets more minutes to share, because it's like, but you will share your idea with the peer, and then take turns, obviously, but write down sort of it can be just you come up with one main insight for the both of you, or two separate ones. That's up to you. We want to hear back from you, what you learned from each other, in about 7 minutes. I'm going to put the timer on 7 minutes, and Mimp, you can push the Z button.
I will push the button.
And then
now
be moved into breakout rooms. The scary bit of the Wednesday Web Jam, where you have to go and talk to people that you might not know. And we are left with
Howard,
Jocelyn, and Ezequiel.
Howard, you okay to stay in the main room?
I didn't get the invite.
That's fine, but are you okay to stay in the main room?
It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Are there any? Are the groups okay? Are there no lonely people?
Just checking. I did auto assign.
Room 4 needs.
Oh, room 6 is alone. So yeah.
Room 4 and 6 are alone.
Cool.
Yes.
So how do I jump, or would I get assigned?
Oh, you stay here with us, Howard, because we like you.
All right.
No, so room 6 is equal, and then
Ezequiel is with us at the moment.
Yeah, because he didn't move to room 6. The room 4 is alone, so you have to. And
I will move room that to somebody.
Otherwise, bring him just back to us. That's okay.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I can't talk too much today. There's some construction happening here in the hallway, so this is gonna be very noisy.
Okay, no problem. So we are in all right. So sorry, with some of the breakouts somehow it didn't work.
I was
you were alone
in the dark.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You can stay with us.
We brought you back. We brought you back. We're like, oh, he can't be alone.
Thank you. It was a good strategy to keep me with you guys. Tricky, but good one.
But anyway, tell me, any thoughts about scaling, design thinking, scaling a human-centric approach to innovation, scaling, what might be a vague thing by itself for many people still, because actually it is happening. The companies are seriously trying to scale design thinking. And so what is your thought? Tell me.
Well, I think that one of the things is engagement, which of the whole team, all of the members of the design thinking, let's say group or groups, users in a company, if we talk about it. That's correct?
Yep. Yeah, it can be company.
Yeah.
It can be.
I mean, this should not be used as a fashion trendy thing, or something a ticking point that each of the company wants to say we are also using design thinking and stuff. The most important thing is the natural engagement, understanding, and following the same purpose of all the design thinkers, let's say, so design thinking users on a natural way. And also it's important to have the same mindsets and attitudes. I see this, as the crew on a yacht team, where everybody should be engaged and do its own work. You cannot fake there. So the same is in this situation. And so scaling, if it is so, then scaling could be done. But I'm thinking about let's say the conductor, if I can make a similarity with an orchestra, should be, comfortable with this scaling, and everybody should be comfortable with the scaling process. It's like, if you are comfortable with driving a small boat or driving a big ship, for some it's easy to be captains of big ships and drive them, and for others not. They are accustomed, they like to drive small boats.
Is this not something that is in general, would apply to whatever you are scaling, not just design thinking?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It is whatever. I mean, if you're scaling something, if you want to make something bigger, you have to work with more people. Those people have to understand.
Yeah.
They have to fit. They have to be able to work on your yacht.
Yeah.
Right. If you bring in a lot of people who have no interest in sailing, and you put them on a sailing boat and trying to kind of follow your metaphor.
But these are the prerequisites. But speaking on design thinking, we talk about the flow of, let's say, informations and ideas and stuff like this. And this flow should be, even if we scale it, it should flow. I mean, it should not be blocked.
Yeah. And so Mirali, I'm not sure if I pronounced your name correctly, but
yeah, Arne, how are you?
How are you? What are your thoughts? What do you think?
I think about scaling. Like I sorry, I just joined. I don't know what I missed, but
it's basically a discussion on, can you scale design thinking? Should you? Would you? Why? What's the purpose? Right. And is it possible?
It is definitely possible. I think when you kind of want to scale the intent, it is possible. When you want to scale the label, you will cause some damage, right? So it is the same thing what Agile and other guys have done, right? So, for example, there is a design introduction or a course that one of the professors does in India, and what we have done is and it's what we are saying to our teams, like my employees both in US and other countries. So the thing is that it doesn't matter if you are as a designer, you're a product manager, you're an engineer or a doctor, it really doesn't matter. Design is an element that you need knowledge of no matter what. It's not just for the design thinkers or designers or the product guys. Every executive, if they can't fathom a value of what shape and size or how it changes the human experience, they are not good in their profession, no matter which profession they are. And so we have made mandatory that everybody actually learns thinking behind what is this design thing and how do you create or how do you start thinking. It's a mindset change. And what we are doing similarly is every client that actually engages with us, we are actually giving this 2-3 days of introduction to different aspects of a design to them at our cost. We're basically sponsoring it. But when you start labeling it as design thinking or Agile or like, you'll create the monsters like what SAFe has created, right? So the idea is, are you scaling the intent or are you scaling the label? And that is where the major risk I'm seeing. The more you delineate it from compartmentalizing and saying this is for this kind of profession or this kind of people, we cause damage. And that's my opinion on the scaling part.
Cool, thank you. You got a big audience all of a sudden.
Welcome back, everybody.
I often have that impact, Arne.
You have to listen to this guy. He's saying something real. Let's go to this guy. Let's go. So they all left their breakout rooms. Wow, so wonderful. Welcome back. And yes, are we scaling the label or the intent? I like that as a kind of a thought to take forward with us. What are we actually doing? Is it the label? Is it the intent? Is it part of our purpose? Does it fit with who we are? Does it make sense? Why are we doing it? So asking stupid questions is very important. Basic stuff, basic, simple questions about why we do what we do, not taking it for granted. So any thoughts? We have last 5 minutes and then we move into backstage because this is the Wednesday WebGen and there is a backstage. But for the last 5 minutes,
Arne, I'm sorry. We have to make it 2 because we also have to present the next session.
That's not my competition. I don't care about the next session. What are you? Sorry. Go. No, I'm sorry. That's not what I really think. Anyone, please share a thought, a outcome, an insight.
Otherwise, we pick you. Anyone?
Maybe me. Hi. Yes. Maybe a little bit of an insight is that the problem with scaling is that usually you get to scale it with people that doesn't know anything about design thinking. So they are waiting for set solutions. So the mindset of the design thinking has to be also translated in the people that are going to scale, because it's usually either a factory or people that are just waiting for set solutions. So this is a difficult part or like a friction that you have to address immediately, either if it is with a leader, a design thinking leader that is going to be like there in the scaling team, or like other kinds of solution that you can just translate that, either training those teams into how to have more an open mindset.
Yeah. Good.
I would like to say something about skill. It took me a whole web jam, Arne, to get my head around this concept of scaling. Not that I do not know about scaling, not that, but since you asked the question, I wanted to come from a different way. Now I have to thank Mariana Vargas Ardia. She's a student in Colombia, and we had a nice conversation together. To me, this was the biggest skill I could reach, to get to know somebody who I never met before. So talking about skill, and I know the size, I would say the contact between two individuals who are getting to know to each other is the biggest skill I found.
That's good. I thank you for that completely different angle. I love that. Thank you. Anyone else have a last sort of some famous last words before Mimp is going to cut me off?
I don't have any famous last words, but I can give you an insight to. You guys are talking about scaling people, but in industry we're going the opposite direction. We're trying to use less and less people. So the scale that we're implementing is through our systems, putting design into our systems, so less people have to, be involved. You still need the experts. Hopefully one day we can eliminate this idea of design people thinking and have it fully in our systems, but we're still far, far away from that.
Yeah, totally. That exactly. Yeah, good angle there. That's awesome. I'll leave you with something that I feel is part of the answer is when we talk about, at least about sort of scaling design thinking, as was the title, whatever that means. But to me, it's actually about scalable learning. It is about creating an environment for people to create new knowledge instead of communicating old knowledge like a tutor, but creating sort of a space where people can actually give them maybe the safe space, the methodologies, the tools, whatever, to create new knowledge on the spot. And that continuously creates new knowledge, which we then call scalable learning. That's a concept we're going to talk about maybe later. But that's also a little bit what we've done here. It's not about someone telling you what it is, but about letting you think about it and taking your angle and your knowledge and your experience and sharing that with others and enriching that and then building on top of each other. I think that is part of, and also to Yunyan's point, it's not connecting to other people who might have a completely different opinion, which is great because like, oh yeah, that's awesome. And not saying, no. So that's from linear thinking to thinking iteratively. And so that's where I want to leave you. Sorry, I left you 1 minute to announce the next, it's still us. And you are muted, Mimp.
I am on mute, so you can finish talking. So this is just us and saying thank you for everybody for coming, and I will let Vipka introduce the next session.
Yes.
There we
Thank
go.
you, Mimp. Yes, next week. I tell you why we're doing something on empowering women, because I had this conversation with Anupa, who's part of the Wednesday Web Jam crew, and we, in the face of a political escalation, we thought we really need to do something about empowering women, especially in vulnerable societies. So this is a very, very broad subject, and we don't want to go on just babbling along. So I thought we use the CAT strategy. I'm not telling you what that is, but it's going to be fun. And cats play a very prominent role on the Web Jam. We always have cats on the screens. Hi, Jen. Hi, Donna. Tribute to Donna. So, so be surprised what we do about the topic of empowering women. And we try to be very, very specific and come up with solutions and try to find maybe little ignition points to get this very important subject, a topic a bit further. So that's for next week. Mimp, over to you.
Thank you. The link is in the chat. I will post it again for if anybody is interested to come and join us next week. And obviously, we also have Zahara and Dr. Thomas as well. Zahara, who has previously been with us. So yes, and 1 second. And please follow us on social media, and we're also on Clubhouse. And this is our team of volunteers. Some of us couldn't be here today, and we are thinking of them, but some of us are here, and you can see. Woo! And Kofi, Yunyan, over to you.
Well, Yunyan loves coffee
Yes.
and tea and wine, lemonade, and I love to ask you guys for a drink. So when you would buy us a drink, we are able to cover our costs of MailChimp, Zoom, Miro, and many more apps to facilitate these jams. So thank you for your coffee and tea.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And we're going to move into the backstage. Yay.
And I will stop sharing, and everybody can wave goodbye to YouTube.
Yes.
See you next week. Bye 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 bye.